Okay. So here's why narcissists compliment you but secretly fucking hate you. So it has a lot to do with jealousy. Most of the time when a narcissist compliments you, it's coming from a place of jealousy. It's also coming from a place of illusion and misinterpretation that breeds that jealousy. Misunderstandings about how the world works, how they work, who they are, and who you are. That creates that jealousy. So narcissists kind of exist in this way of being where they can't have what you have, but they gravely misunderstand why they can't have what you have. They believe that there's something wrong with them, that you are above them, that the world is this like inferiority and superiority game. It's not. Everyone's equal. We all have the same capabilities, the same power, the same... And you know, some people's souls are older, more wise, whatever. But they aren't seeing the world correctly. And I'm not like gaslighting narcissists when I say that. I'm just like, illusion, misinterpretation is not seeing the world for the truth that it actually is. And so what they'll do is it's like their whole focus will be on like harming people, fucking you over, stalking you, looking for your weaknesses, looking for your vulnerabilities. Their whole focus is on that. These crazy ass things. That's their whole focus. And then when they see you putting your focus into something positive or that they want, they feel jealous, like they can't have it. And then they feel like this big victim because they can't have it. They could have it if they stopped focusing on what they're focusing on. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you an example of this. Like, let's say you do really well on a test. And a narcissist is like complimenting you and telling you you're so smart. They don't actually think you're smart. What's happening inside their head is that they're not understanding that to do well on a test, all you have to do is study. To do well on a test, you know, if you study for 15 hours and you do well, it's because you studied for 15 hours, right? It's because you focused on it. If you do bad on a test and you studied for 1 hour, it's because you didn't study for 1 hour. But there's this victim complex that narcissists can have where it's like they're a victim. And it also plays into their superiority complex. And it also has to do with like perfectionism kind of conditioning that narcissists have. So it's like narcissists learn that you should be able to succeed without taking the actions needed to succeed. If you want to do well on a test, you study. But to how narcissistic people condition others is if you want to do well on a test, it's like you have to be this perfect superior person and you should be able to do well even if you didn't study. And that we should be like perfect, high performing without having what we need. But it's not true. If you want to do well on the test, the right action is to study. So then when they compliment you, they're seeing from this realm of inferiority and superiority. And then narcissists also have this like need to always be on the top, right? Of the hierarchy, right? Social hierarchy. It's like it's just whoever believes they're the most superior to others. It's an illusion. But so then when they notice something about you, like that you're smart from this place of misinterpretation, it's like to them, you've one-upped them on the social hierarchy. So now their focus isn't to, you know, like maybe ask you how you did so well or like ask a question. Their focus is now on trying to one-up you and be in a competition with you. Yeah, be in a competition with you. And you'll notice that when narcissists are in competition with you, it's like you're not even in the competition. You're not even a part of it. And they're like trying to one-up you and play these games with you. You're not even in the competition. You're not even participating. And then they'll interpret like they'll get so paranoid. They'll start like interpreting your every action as like you competing with them. Like they'll like see something you do and they'll be like, oh, they're trying to one up me. And then it fuels their fire. Like, it's just all fueling their behavior. Like, they're recreating their same cycles. And it's a form of reaction. Reaction. They're always taking the same actions. When they control themselves and others, reaction. They want something. Instead of taking a new action to get that thing, studying for longer, they take a reaction. If I bully it and harm this person, I'll get it. They're in this karmic loop of never being able to get what they want because they're not taking the time to reflect, to see. And so the jealousy part of like the compliment, it's like it works in their favor as like a motive. Narcissism is like a web. Everything they do feeds into all their motives and their sense of self in the lower state of consciousness. A web. And it feeds into their motives because it's like, if they feel jealous of you, then they feel justified in hurting you. If you have something they don't have, they feel justified in hurting you. When they're a victim, they feel justified in hurting you. Because this is the thing about like victims and like abusers and the way that justice works in the real reality. Like, I'm talking truth, like the universe, how justice works is that it's like when someone is like attacking you, true self-defense isn't a spiritual crime. So narcissists are perceiving non-spiritual crimes as spiritual crimes. And then they commit major spiritual crimes. I have an analysis on Attack on Titan. That's what Gabby did in Attack on Titan. This is a spoiler for season 4. So that's what Gabby did in Attack on Titan. She felt revenge against the system that was harming her. She killed someone on the enemy team who was innocent in this fake sense of justice. That it was righteous for her to kill Sasha. She felt like the victim of them. She wasn't actually the victim of them. She was the victim of her own leaders. And so in that, she thought it was right. It was defense. It was justice. And that was an illusion, a misinterpretation that sent her into a karmic cycle. And this is how these karmics are. They interpret innocence as spiritual crimes and then commit spiritual crimes and interpret that as justice. It's not justice. We see this with social justice online too. People are, like being aggressive, committing crimes, spiritual crimes against an enemy that isn't actually their enemy. It's like a narcissist comes in and casts someone else as the villain while they're actually the villain. Scapegoat someone else as the villain while they're actually the villain. And then people go and attack that villain thinking they're being righteous and injustice. They're not. They're committing injustice against the scapegoat. And how this happens with jealousy. While we were talking about compliments, I got a little bit off topic. But yeah, so this is why they give you compliments and they hate you. Oftentimes when they're giving you compliments too, their words aren't matching their energy. This is one example of how their words don't match their energy. When they're actually misinterpreting how you are the way you are. But if they have some kind of motive, like they think, like narcissists have this warped worldview where they think that like relationships work like this. You love bomb, put them on a pedestal, and then you devalue and you hurt them. This is like a really common relational style for people. There's no consistency because that's what they experience at home. Pedestal, superiority, inferiority, superiority, inferiority. And people, a lot of people fall victims to narcissists in these cycles for a lot of reasons, but people who fall victim to narcissists kind of teach narcissists that their tactics always work, right? So it's like the way to get your victim is just to love bomb them and then you'll have them in your hooks, right? That's what narcissists think. But once you become unmanipulatable, their love bombing, it doesn't fucking work. Because you don't see people like the first impression of them is who they are. That's how narcissists operate. First impression is who they are. So on their first impression, they're going to be really nice to you. So that when inevitably they switch to their devaluation phase, you'll get all confused and be trauma bonded to them. So it's really important to not fall for that shit. Their relational style is trauma bonding everyone to them. That's why they compliment you. They're parasitic. Think of a trauma bond like a cord that binds their power to you. Your power to them, I mean. And that's how they relate to people. Trauma bond everyone, not just partners, friends, family, anyone they meet. It's their whole relational style. Like a predator, a narcissist, doesn't just try and trauma bond their victim. It's how they relate to people. And it's honestly how they relate to everything. You know, our relationships with others is our relationship with life itself. And that includes objects, the weather. You know how narcissists are always complaining about the fucking weather? Never happy? But, yeah, so. This is Narcissists and Compliments. Love ya.